Alrighty, so welcome to what is Warden Norton's office. Now, historically, when we were an operational prison, this would have actually been a bedroom for the assistant warden. The assistant warden would have received 2 floors on this side of the building for him and his family to live. It was pretty common for administration to stay here on site in our early years, just because, let's say that you're a guard, you live off-site and an incident occurred here, you only had horse and buggy to get here, it could potentially take you a while to get here to be able to respond to that incident. Field called the Bisman Building. You can actually still drive by it today. I would definitely recommend it if you have any extra time after the tour has concluded. They have a little cardboard cutout of Brooks kind of waving at people, so that's kind of cute. And then above me here, you're going to see this beam that says Brooks was here and so was Red. That is not the original beam from the movie. This is a replica that was actually done by one of our volunteers. On the wall here, you can see the original where it came down a bit farther, been a bit thicker. We thought that the original beam was gone for good until one day on a tour kind of like this. There was a tour guide talking about how this was a replica when there was a guy at the back of the tour who raised his hand. He said, "I have part of the original in the back of my truck. Do you guys want it?" I assume that tour guide's jaw hit the floor. They said, "Absolutely, we want it." We ended up later getting that authenticated by Frank Darabont himself. It is indeed the original. It sits downstairs in our Shawshank suite in the room called the Brooks Hatlin Memorial Library Room. It's behind glass. It's just a little piece that says Brooks was here and so was Red, but super cool piece that we have. I would definitely recommend going back and checking that out after the tour today. And then alrighty, welcome to the chapel for the Reformatory. Religion here played a very important role in the reform program. On Sunday morning, the doors to the left and right would open up over here. Inmates would quietly, single file, sit down. Once all of the inmates were sat down, the chaplain, he's going to come through that door that we just walked through. He'd walk up this middle aisle, up into the stage where he would get his sermon. Now the chaplain, he was a very important figure here at the Reformatory. He was just as important, if not more important, than the warden himself. He not only was the chaplain, he also worked as a counselor for these guys. He also was on the parole board, so it looked really good if you went up for parole and the chaplain was rooting you on. The chaplain, he was also in charge of all the extracurricular events here at the Reformatory. He actually made a track and field day for these guys. Does anyone have any guesses on what track and field event was not allowed here at the Reformatory?
High jump. Pole vault. My speaker isn't working. Would there be anything that I've done wrong?
Right now, this would have originally been a cafeteria space. The wall in the back there would not have been there, so this room would have been a lot bigger, a lot more open. We do eventually end up outgrowing our cafeteria, so they end up building a bigger one out in the prison yard. They also called this area the bullpen at one point. After it was no longer a cafeteria, it turned into the bullpen. It was called the bullpen because guards were nicknamed bulls. This was a place in the prison where you had to check in with a guard or a bull before you could head off to wherever else in the prison you were going. There's also some pretty cool Shawshank traditional props in here. On the ground in front of me, you'll see that line there. That is the line where Andy and the new fish line up when they're first brought into Shawshank prison. Warden Norton ends up coming in. He says, "Put your trust in the Lord, but your behind belongs to me." That would have been filmed right there. And then on the wall back there in front of me, you'll see that tunnel. That's the tunnel where Andy crawled through the 500 yards of raw sewage. That would have been filled with chocolate syrup, sawdust, graham crackers, and water to give it that sewage appearance. On top of these showers. Historically, inmates would have been showered once a week, usually on Saturday, so that they were nice and clean for Sunday service. How showering worked was they were brought in 100 at a time, or about a tier at a time. First thing they would do is they would hang their uniforms up on those hooks that are behind you folks. After that, they would walk to the end of the shower down there by that window, where they would grab a bar of soap. And then their shower consisted of the time it took them to walk from that shower head down there to this shower head right down here. They were walking the entire time that they were washing. Usually took